Yeah, so I'm Gaurav. A bit of introduction about myself. So I'm CTO and partner in data design, and I'm focusing primarily on transforming businesses through data and AI. And also, this is also one of the data design's mission. How can we provide business impact using data and AI? So today we are going to cover the concept of AI agents, what their applications are, and also we'll go through some of the live demonstrations of trying to show you what kind of capabilities they have still at an initial level. So I'll not go very deep, but still at a high level I'll try to give you some information about what are the key capabilities of these AI agents. So this is an opportunity for all of you, to understand this new realm of generative AI agents, and especially how can they be orchestrated in the digital world. The agenda I'm going to follow is the first part is I will be going into clarifying what are AI agents, what different types of agents there are, to give you a bit more about the foundational knowledge and foundational explanation about what they really are, what are AI agents, how they work, and where they can be applied. Then we'll go into some real world applications and case studies. So what have been the leading use cases, or which other companies have been able to build products or services on top of AI agents. And lastly, we'll go into the demonstrations and the QA part. So I have created a few agents that I would like to demo you that would showcase you some of the capabilities of these agents. There will be a little bit of code I will be showing, but just be with me and I'll take you through it step by step. Yeah, so first of all, let's clarify that what is an AI agent. So an AI agent is an autonomous entity which is capable of perceiving its environment. It is able to reason about it, and lastly, it is able to take actions to achieve a goal. So you can think about, for example, an autonomous car which is able to perceive its environment using the various sensors it may be having. Then it may be able to plan its route so as to achieve the goal. And then it may be able to navigate independently. So the key things are, it is autonomous, so it is able to do the perception, reasoning, and then navigation independently. So those are the key things behind these AI agents. So again, key features are perception, reasoning, and then action. So many of these AI agents that we have seen in the past, they mostly or they interface with the physical world using various types of sensors or different types of actuators and so on. Um, can you still see my screen, or I lost you guys?
We don't see the presentation anymore.
You don't see? Oh, okay, something happened. Give me a second again. Yeah, let's start again with the presentation sharing. Yeah, so what I was telling you was most of these agents, they interface with the physical world through sensors or actuators. However, in today's webinar, I would mostly be concentrating on digital realm, so the space of generative AI agents or generative AI orchestrated agents. That's what I will be focusing on primarily. And these generative AI orchestrated agents, they work in the digital space, and they are not so much interacting with the physical world. Those capabilities can also be created if needed. So there is possibility, but most of it what I am going through is they're being interfacing with the digital space. Then let's go into some of the foundational elements. So what is a generative AI agent? So we looked into what is an AI agent. Now what is a generative AI agent? So generative AI agent is a sophisticated system, first of all, which is capable of performing these complex tasks and make decision with minimal human intervention. And how it does that, it is because there is an underlying technology of these large language models which are able to do most of the reasoning and the decision making behind it, and it is able to do that iteratively so as to continuously improve and come back with an answer which is having a high level of accuracy and confidence. Then even though these systems are agentic, they might be having some level of autonomy, but again there may be different degrees to which a system can be agentic, or there could be different degrees to which autonomy can be there. Just like in an autonomous car, there are different levels of autonomy from level 1 to level 4. Similarly, in a generative AI agent, the level of autonomy is on a spectrum. So this is an important concept to understand. And the key advantage, why we want to have these kinds of agents is because we want to, you know, um, increase the efficiency of processes. So while at the same time having a high throughput, but having a high amount of quality as well. Because in most of the cases, we have seen that, um, if you interface with an LLM, and the traditional scenario has been where a human is interfacing with a large language model, and with this back and forth conversation between the human and the LLM, the accuracy or the quality of the response improves over time. So this is the traditional scenario that we have seen. But when we go towards a generative AI agent, or I may call it an AI agent for today's seminar, what we want to go towards is removal of this human in the loop. So the agent is able to do the thinking. It is able to take, you know, based upon those thought process, it is able to make a decision. Based upon the decision, it executes an action. Then it can see the results of those action and then iterate over this whole loop again. So by doing this iteratively, it is able to come to reach to a pretty good level of confidence of the output. So this is where the agent shines. So it removes this human in the loop, and it is able to do that by this iterative process that I just mentioned. And where we are using these generative AI agents is in the performance of certain tasks in a process, or then in the automation of several tasks in a process, or it can also go into automation of the complete process. But the common underlying theme is that it is always these agents are doing some task. So that is the context under which they are doing or they are functioning. And they have access to what is called tools, which, and tools is nothing but capabilities. So they have certain skills or capabilities which are provided by means of tools by which they are able to do these tasks. And some of the tools are pretty simple ones, like web browsing. So they will be able to browse the web, they will be able to run code, so code interpreter, or they can call an API, they can scrape a website, and so on and so forth. So they are multiple amount of tools which have already been created, and numerous ones are mushrooming every day of the week. Then if we step into the world of multi-AI agents, so multi-AI agents, as you see, is a network of agents wherein these agents are collaborating together to perform complete tasks or part of some process. In this multi-agent systems, each agent has a defined and a specified role, a specified goal or an objective, and a specified, they are given some context or background story. So each agent has, again, it has a role, it has a goal or an objective, and some background story towards it. And how it works is that when an agent is performing a task, it can delegate, sometimes it can delegate the task to another agent, or it can ask a question to another agent in order to perform its own task. And having said that, an agent can also work independently and then at the end combine the results from the output of the other agents. So agents can work collaboratively, but agents can also work independently depending upon the task. And it makes this decision on the runtime. It makes this decision depending upon what amount of context information it has been able to collect, whether it wants to collaborate, whether it wants to ask some question to a downstream agent, or it thinks that it has sufficient amount of tools and capabilities to perform the task itself. And in the context, or going a bit more technical, so each agent, as I mentioned previously, has underlying technology of LLM. And in the world of these multiple agents, each agent can have their own unique large language model beneath them. So one could be on a Llama kind of a model, another one maybe on a GPT-3 or GPT-4, and another one maybe on Claude. So they may be these underlying technologies under respective agents to perform the task. Now, going into what have been the some of the top use cases of Gen AI agents in 2024. So first of all, there has been a huge amount of uptake. A lot of companies are leveraging these agents these days, and primarily the top use case has been around research and summarization, where you can give a certain topic or a mixture of topics to these agents, and they can iteratively do the research, and then based upon the research results develop a summarization. I will give a demo of this later on. Then other ones are for these productivity improvements, creating a personal assistance. Customer service agents have become have are shining these days, and I think Klarna was one classic example where they're now using Gen AI agents for customer service, but also for sales. Then there is a lot of things happening around code generation, to do the data transformation and enrichment of data from different sources. So connecting data from different parts, and even for interactive gameplay. So this has been the current world. And also, if I look into what are some of the biggest and the most popular apps which have been built using agents. So these are the three which comes to the top. So one is this Perplexity, which is an AI powered answer engine that can answer complex queries with web search. So think of it as a Google, but instead of getting a list of links from a Google question, this gives you a human readable answer based upon what your question was, and it also gives references to the sources. Then Cursor is an AI powered code editor that helps the developers to write code, or to debug code, so during their engineering or coding assignments. And lastly, the Replit is another one which is pretty much similar to Cursor, but it is used in setting up environments or configurations, also in the software development lifecycle. So these are the ones which are pretty popular. But as said, many more applications are coming day by day, where companies are leveraging and employing these Gen AI agents now. Then if I look at the emerging application area, so what we have seen till now is the first two parts. So the automation of repetitive tasks or managing multi-step tasks. This is what we've seen till 2024, where agents are able to do simple task automation, and they're also able to orchestrate those tasks. And then they can also do complex task automation, and then orchestration of different kinds of complex tasks. Where we are going towards now in future is their LLMs running and orchestrating processes, so complete processes. And how I define a process is a combination of several tasks, right? So the LLM will be able to run a complete process and also orchestrate the process. So this is clearly where we are going, and the capabilities are already there from a technological point of view. And since the agent will also be able to orchestrate the process, so it will ensure that the right agent is available for the right problem at the right time. And going forward, we can see that there will be these LLM based, what I call enterprise operating system, wherein you will see that there is an LLM manager which is running all and orchestrating all the processes of the organization. So this is clearly, I think, conceivable at the moment, based upon some of the technologies already available today. And given a bit more improvement in this area, this is a future which is no longer a distant dream, but it would be realizable in the very near future. Heading into, and this is a very common question that, how is these AI agents different than traditional software engineering or traditional software programming? So this is a slide I've taken from deeplearning.ai, and this gives a very good clarification on this. So what in a traditional software development, if I take the inputs, the transformation or the processing of that input, and the output, they're all fixed or they're all deterministic. Most of the times, the input is fixed, either it's a integer or a float or a string, and then there is some transformation or some algorithm running on top of it, or some logic happening on top of that input to produce an output, which is also therefore deterministic. So even if you replicate, you run the same program millions of times for the same input, you'll get the same output. But in the AI software development, things becomes a bit fuzzy. So the inputs are fuzzy, the outputs are fuzzy, and the transformations are also fuzzy. If I elaborate that a bit more, so by inputs being fuzzy, I mean that the input can take various forms. It can be a table in a PDF, it can be a table in an Excel, it can be a markdown text, it can be text in an image, it can be an image, or it can be in a mathematical operation or a mathematical equation. So the inputs could be anything, and it is realized and discovered at runtime. Then depending upon the input and depending upon the prompt, the transformation happening is also fuzzy and therefore not deterministic at the before the runtime. And taking the same logic further, therefore the output is also fuzzy. So depending upon the input and the task at hand and the processing, the output is also fuzzy. So it could be text, it could be paragraph, it could be number, JSON, anything. So it's a realm where we are heading into this probabilities and non-deterministic world rather than a deterministic and a world which is perfectly replicated. So and this is where it shines. And if we have to do this and go towards this AI software development, we have to unlearn a lot of the pre-existing habits and mental patterns that we have, because it's a completely different paradigm and it needs new thought patterns in order to go about with this AI software development. If I have to give you an example of how this difference might materialize is, let's take an example where there are some visitors coming on a website from where you get your leads, and then you have some kind of a rule-based mechanism which is scoring those leads. And lastly, based upon those scores, you may be doing some segmentation of those leads. But in an AI agentic world, um, doing that scoring may be may not be very rigid, so it may not be predefined, and it may adapt according to the context and as new information comes in. So for example, if there is new information about the lead, which may be possible, let's say the agent does a Google search and it gets new information about the lead, or it gets some new news about the lead, it may include that in its scoring mechanism. um, so it's basically non-deterministic. It can combine new data, it can combine new sources of data, to do that reasoning, and based upon that scoring which is done by the agent, it will be able to do that segmentation work as well. This first part was mostly about a bit about the foundational part. Now I would like to go into a bit more practical. But before I head into that, I wanted to give a clarification that I would be using this technology framework, or I've used this one called Crew AI. And this Crew AI is a framework to build and manage these multi-agent systems. It is one of the frameworks which is available on the market, and it is one of the leading ones. So it is an innovative platform which is designed for creating and managing these multi-agent systems. And by this Crew AI, it is very structured way of creating an agent. So it's a templatized way wherein the heavy lifting is done by the framework, and what you need to do is define the building blocks. And the building blocks of an agent are: number one, you need to define the agents. When you define the agents, you define what is the role of the agent, what is the goal of the agent, what are the tools or skills it can use, so what capabilities it has, what kind of memory it has, whether it has no memory or short-term memory, long-term memory, entity memory, and so on, what kind of guardrails it has, and what and how it can collaborate with other agents. So that is the first part. You will first start by defining the agents, and you can think about agents as normal, human members or human employees of your team who have a specific task to do, and they use some special skills to perform those tasks or jobs. You can think about agents like that. So after you have defined the agents, the next thing you will do is defining the tasks, or you will put into detail what this task is about, how it has to be accomplished, what is the expected output, and so on. And then you will be connecting those tasks with the agent. And lastly, it's about then designing that how you will be orchestrating or managing the agents, which is like a project manager for these agents, which will ensure that, or which will ensure or define the way that how these agents can delegate or cooperate with each other, or they can ask questions between one another. So it is kind of a manager who is able to therefore orchestrate these different agents. So that is the third part that you will define. And these are primarily the most common building blocks of an agent, whether you use Crew AI or you use some of the other popular agentic or multi-agent frameworks. Now I'll go into a demo. The first one is about this role playing and collaboration, and this is for content production use case, wherein I have three agents. What I want to do is that given a topic, the agent would research about the topic, and then it will produce some content autonomously. So I have created three agents. One will do the planning, second will do the writing, and third will do the editing. And this is a sequential process, so it happens step by step. In the content planner agent, so this is how it really looks. I mean, if you look at the bottom boxes, this is what really is composed of in an agent. So you define what the role is. So content planner, I've defined the role is content planning. Then I've defined the goal of the agent, and then I've defined the backstory, which is some background information or context for that agent. Then I've said that delegation is false, so it cannot delegate its task to other, and so on. Then I do the same thing for the writer agent and the same thing for editor agent. I define what the role is, what the goal is, and what the backstory is for those agents. And then I do the tasks. I write down what are the tasks for each of these agents. So what is the planning task? I give a description. So it should prioritize the latest trends, keys, players, etc. And this is the expected output. Same thing for the writer agent and same thing for the editor agent. So the tasks are defined. And once it is done, then let me share my screen again. So let's go out of this and okay, share my screen. So if I run this agent, okay, that was not the one I wanted to run. So give me a second. Oh, it was this one. So now you will see that once I've defined the agents, you will see that the system is running. So first is this content planner agent. It shows to me what the task is of this agent in this light green color. So it needs to prioritize the latest trends, key players, and noteworthy news on artificial intelligence, which is the topic that I had inputted. It should identify who is the target audience, what is their pain points, and then develop a detailed content outline based upon that, and also include SEO keywords. So as you see that this agent is able to do that task, it is creating this content plan with the target audience, the SEO keywords, etc., etc. And then once it has done its task, it then gives the task to the next one, which is a writer agent. So as you see in the bottom, the writer agent is now started, and the context of the previous task goes to this writer agent, which will now write down um, the topic or the blog or the content, whatever you want, based upon that topic. So it takes a little while to run, but yeah, as you see now, it has done. It has written the final answer, and once this has written the final answer, it will give the control forward to an editor agent, which is then proofreading these blog posts, ensuring that it follows your guidelines of the company and the brand and the branding voice, the tone of voice, and so on. So lastly, you will see when this concludes that the editor agent would go through what has been written before, and then it updates based upon your company guidelines. So this is how it has ended. So this is one way that an agent has been able to do a job. Another one I can show to you is where it is able to use the tools uh, capability. So tools, as I said, is some capabilities that an agents can have. This one is about customer outreach campaign, where I want the agent to create a customer outreach based upon a certain input that I've given to the agent. So the input I've given to the agent is who is the person I want to target, what is the company name, and then based upon that, the agent will do some research about it and create a personalized outreach email for a lead. So here I've already run it and I can show you the output already. So they were uh, not this one, but yeah, that's the one, customer outreach. Yeah. So there were two agents. One is the sales representative who I've asked to do the input company I've mentioned is this plugin. So it does the first task is to do an in-depth analysis of the company, and then based upon that, create a research report for the next agent. So what it does, it uses this tool to search the internet. It searches about plugin, general information about the company. Once it has done that, then it searches about from LinkedIn and social media what has been mentioned by this company or other companies have referred to it. So it builds from there. Then it searches about recent business developments in that company, looking through the news both from the plugit website as well as other media sources. And then it goes into who are the key personnel of this company, so who are the top management, what they have been saying in media, and so on. And finally, this agent is able to combine all of that research and create a final answer. So it gives you the background, who are the key personnel, what are the recent milestones. It is able to identify what their current needs are and what could be our engagement strategy from a sales perspective for that one. um, and then it passes all of this information to his boss, which is in this case is a lead sales representative, and the task for him is to use the insights gathered from the previous agent to then come up with a targeted outreach email. So it says that, okay, I have some information from the background, I have this key personnel, recent milestones, etc. But in order to make my mails more thorough and informed, I also want to search the internet for some additional information about the company culture, values, and any recent news or updates, because I want it to be written in a certain fashion that is aligning with the plugins, company cultures, and values. So it does and so goes ahead and then searches about the culture, culture and values of the company. It goes and searches for some of the recent news. And then based upon all of that, it is able to then conclude with an email. And in this case, I had the input I had given is that you should target the CEO. So he's Johan Mild. And therefore it is able to give me, 2 samples of these emails, considering what are their current needs and aspirations, and then how um, a company like Data Design can target with its services to this company. It can also be supplied with certain templates that this agent can just fill up to make it much more pertinent and a bit more, as per your taste and templates. So I think took a bit more time than I was allotted, but I hope you found it interesting and gave you a bit more information about this world of AI agents. I think I can end now, but if there are any questions, quick ones, I can take those questions now.
Yeah, thank you, Gaurav. I think great examples of tools that make our work easier in the future. Yeah, Haley has some comments here in the chat. It's not directly a question. Do we have any questions from the audience? Looks like that there are no questions at this point. Eija has a question here in the room. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you for the presentation. I was just wondering, we often talk about the solutions and what they can do, the AI agents, but I was wondering that what are the key challenges in developing and deploying the AI agents? And when I'm asking this, I'm especially thinking about the ethical concerns or the scalability and these kind of issues.
Yeah, I think those are pretty pertinent and spot on. The question is very spot on. And there are certain challenges in using AI agents. I can say one is this lack of transparency. So how it comes up with a certain decision. So decision making process, it is very complex and it may not be, completely understandable to the humans. However, so there are these challenges, but then there are also means to overcome these challenges. So for example, you can set up guardrails and policies that should not be violated during the decision making process. Then there are, of course, things related to accountability. So who bears the accountability if something goes wrong? So for example, if I take an example of physical or agents in the physical world, there was an accident by Uber's car, autonomous car. So who takes accountability or liability? Then there could be issues related to data bias. So there could be bias in the data which was used to train these large language models and those inherent biases could therefore come up during that decision making process. And I think another one could be around the security aspect. So these agents could be vulnerable to cyber attacks, which could compromise their decision making capabilities and decision making processes. So of course, I think there are these challenges, but then there are also ways and means to overcome these challenges. And I went through at least one around guardrails in order to improve and resolve some of those challenges.
Okay, thank you. Andre, you have a question.
Yes, hi. Thank you very much. It was a very interesting presentation. A question regarding the crew AI. Is it still so it's coding needed for creating some type of step-by-step agents, or is it there are no drag and drop user interfaces yet, so you could try out just like a 2 or 3 step thing with prompting different models with
Yeah.
some like rules, as you call them.
Yeah. At least with Crew AI, I haven't seen that yet. Of course, I think that is something that would come, as in some of the other AI agentic platforms have come up with low code, no code kind of user interface to create these agents, but not on Crew AI at the moment. Having said that, it does not need an elaborate amount of software development skill sets, because with Crew AI, creating these agents is quite straightforward as well. If you can write text, I would say you can, pretty much write these agents.
Okay, thanks.